On to some more depressing stuff. This one was sent to me by Fennec. It says, Tennessee lawmakers want to ban pride flags, but not Nazi ones. This doesn't make sense. This comes from the Tennessean.
Oh, is this the one about them removing pride flags from schools?
Yeah. Oh, shit. We got a bunch of sub-gifts. Zada Hagla. I'm sorry for saying that wrong every time. Gifted
Zada
10
Hagala.
tier... Zada Hagala. Gifted 10 tier 1 subs. And that makes a total of 20 that they've gifted. So now I'm up to 28. I have more subs than usually watch my show ever. And Duct Tape Jake says, I'm currently playing Star Wars 5e campaign with friends, and we fairly quickly turned into a traveling jizz band. Love it. Love it.
Do you want to be a bard? Everybody wants to be a bard. Why? Do 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 do. Is it okay? So it's funny to me. I don't know how many of the Star Wars video games you've played, but in the games, anytime you walk into a cantina,
yes, it's
always
yes.
it's always that one song. Always 100% of the time.
There's two songs.
I don't remember there being another song in KOTOR at all.
I'm pretty sure they used the second one.
But like,
I can't think of how it goes. I was gonna hum it, and I'm gonna just like, nope, I'm drawing a blank. I know there is a second song.
It's so weird to me that for this music that is supposed to have a style of music that is named one thing, named jizz. In the video games, it is almost always, it's that one song. It's the one that you remember. We have no idea what leitmotif looks like, so that you can associate some other song with this thing. We forgot what the fuck leitmotif was. We're just going to play the one song again.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Tennessee bans pride flags. Now, I want to say, I did read the bill. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think the ban pride flags but not Nazi ones is accurate. Because it bans all flags from classrooms except for the Tennessee flag and the United States flag.
Yeah, it does technically ban Nazi flags.
Now, this is explicitly lawmakers who are wanting to ban LGBTQ pride flags specifically, and they're
willing to accept collateral damage.
Yeah, they don't really care about the Nazi flags, and Nazis, for some reason, feel comfortable going to Tennessee to demonstrate. But it is worth mentioning that the bill itself does not actually ban pride flags, but not Nazi ones. It just bans everything except for the U.S. and Tennessee flag. So anyway, they say, over the past couple of weeks, we've watched the bill HB 1605/SB 1722 get rammed through committee without lawmakers being upfront about its intentions. The Tennessee House of Representatives passed it on February 26th. We've watched legislators acknowledge its unconstitutionality, admit to not knowing its full implications, and attempt to dance around the reality of the bill. It's a bill created in search of a problem, and its real intentions are obvious to those willing to say it out loud. We're not sure what problem the bill sets out to address, like what problem is actually caused by there being flags other than the U.S. flag or the Tennessee flag in classrooms. Like, I mean, I could see if you have a Nazi teacher hanging a Nazi flag, that could be an issue.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem there.
But so they're trying to say it's against the indoctrination of school children, which they go for the definition.
Indoctrination into what?
Well, that's the thing. Like, just seeing a flag is not going to indoctrinate you into something.
No, it's not. And even so, like, indoctrination is just asking somebody to accept something uncritically.
Yeah.
Like, that's technically,
so that's the definition they gave
at young ages.
That's the definition they gave here: the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Yeah, so there is a good chunk of teaching kids that does involve that. Like, you don't. Well, I mean, I was going to say, like, you don't let them question, like, 2 + 2 = 4. It just is. But, like, no, I actually do let my kids question that. Like, if they want to know how something works, I'm going to do my best to explain how it works instead of just being like, oh, that's just how it is. So maybe I'm just weird that way. But like, if my kids ask me why does 2 + 2 = 4, I would get out like marbles or something and be like, okay, well, here's 2 and here's 2, and you know how to count. So what happens when you put these 2 together and count them all together? And then they would count.
You can show the process.
It's 4. And yeah, my partner actually makes fun of me because I go into way too much scientific depth for the 4-year-old. Who right now the 4-year-old is I got them to eat their fruit this morning because they were pretending to be a flying fox, the type of bat, the flying fox. And, well, flying foxes eat fruit, and they really like bananas. And I have a banana here. Why don't you try one? And
so you just worked within the paradigm they gave you.
Yeah, and they ate 2 bananas this morning. And they're really picky eaters that it's really hard to get them to eat healthy foods. So, like, yeah, bananas for breakfast. All right.
Also, Falcon fan once again in my chat saying the only people flying Nazi flags are feds. So this is my once a stream reminder.
I remember that person.
This is my once a stream reminder. Falcon fan, if you have some evidence.
Wasn't this the exact argument they had last time?
Yep.
Come on, we trounced you last time. Come up with something new, man. Come on.
This is my once a stream reminder. Please bring evidence when you say something. Otherwise, it will be dismissed. That's like, I can say anything. I can say anything on the internet, and there are people who will believe me for some stupid reason.
I would like my channel to stay monetized, so please don't say anything.
Look, think about half the things you and I have both said, and somehow your channel is still monetized. I do not understand it.
That's a fair point.
We feed Falcon some attention as a treat. Falcon's the stream pet.
I like it.
Jesus. So what does it mean to be a Fed? I mean, that would literally just be you're somebody working for the government for the purpose of engaging in a psyop. That's what the working definition is for this type of thing. And it's not that the federal government hasn't done this type of stuff before.
Yeah. Like
they do.
This is the thing that doesn't make sense to me about that. Is like, I will grant you that the federal government fucking sucks a lot of the time, and they do stupid shit like that a lot of the time. But like, neo-Nazis are a thing that I run into on a semi-regular basis. So to think that some of them would get together in real life,
it doesn't take a lot of assumptions.
Unless like everybody on Twitter is also a Fed, which I mean, granted it's Twitter, so maybe.
Maybe. I mean, so like, the conspiracy nutter at the bar, now that I know his name, it feels weird not just calling him by his name, because the bartender was like, he's been asking about you. Like, don't tell me that. But like, so that is a person who I could easily see being very adjacent to what would be considered modern day Nazi ideology, only because the beginning of the conversation with that person was them going, the real problem in today's America is satanic pedophiles. Wouldn't you agree, sir? And I'm like,
no. That
is the most loaded statement possible. The only possible way I can answer that with any amount of dignity is, what the fuck is a satanic pedophile? What do you mean by that? And it couldn't really answer that question either, so obviously I went with the right form of inquiry. But it's the fact that here in Georgia, where the the third incarnation of the KKK happened 1 hour from my doorstep. Stone Mountain's a wonderful place, and by wonderful I mean caked in weird history.
But Suris, Georgia's where the Guidestones are, though, so clearly New World Order or whatever.
The Georgia Girdsterns.
Girdsterns.
Only 500,000 people should be alive ever. Oh my god, lol.
Some rich guy made a stone that said a thing, so clearly it's an Illuminati conspiracy.
Clearly.
But also, like, even the thing, like, only 500,000 people should be alive. That's not saying we kill people until we get down to 500,000. That's saying we, like, advocate for women's rights so they can choose not to have kids if they don't want to, and maybe provide incentive to get people to have fewer children.
I mean, it's
although realistically, like we've seen, like with population growth rates in developed countries, it seems that when women do have control over how many kids they have, It's not a lot. It's enough that, like, maybe the population will shrink. Probably not down to 500,000 anytime soon, but yeah, you give women rights, and problems like that go away. Donald says, perhaps Fed means Federalist Society. Yeah, I can see that.
Sorry, 500 million, not 500,000.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I have trouble with orders of magnitude as well.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know, just... And I understand the... Because, again, like, as somebody who used to be an Alex Jones fan, I understand the logic behind it, right? People connect all these dots, and if you were already a fundy Christian, connecting those dots is already baked into your brain, because when you connect conspiratorial thoughts using only the Bible, it's called harmonizing. I mean,
yeah.
I've watched enough of Gene Kim to know that it's just called harmonizing when you make up bullshit that way.
I forgot Gene Kim existed. Why'd you have to remind me of him?
Every single time you see a whiteboard, you're reminded that Gene Kim exists.
Yeah, I know. Why do you think I got rid of my whiteboard?
It was a reminder. Look, if I see a whiteboard, I'm reminded that Gene Kim existed. If I hear the echoey sound of an empty theater or an empty like audience hall, I think of Matt Powell preaching to his audience of like 5.
Yeah.
The camera's trained on him, and it never shows the audience for a very specific reason.
Oh, Sakura says who? I'm so sorry to have made you aware of Gene Kim's existence.
I'll do some Gene Kim videos soon.
On my channel, if you do a search for worst apologist, you'll probably find him. Let me just verify that that's actually a thing that comes up. Oh shit, I clicked the wrong button. Come on.
Yeah, Gene Kim is a conspiracy-drenched individual, and every one of his sermons is, from beginning to end, just trying to connect the dots between 1,000
red yarn
unrelated
and
things.
Oh, speaking of which, one of the quote-unquote news items that somebody sent me was with regards to Bluey. There was an article written about how an animator was fired for putting a cuck chair in their bedroom.
Oh my god.
So that kind of like it was kind of like one of those nice little like, oh, I just went on a conspiracy rampage, which like I will fully acknowledge here that like there is evidence in the rest of the show that like everything I said was wrong. I was just doing one of those like, hey, I just want to do a thing. I'm just going to have some fun with this. Who fucking cares? But yeah, it was also a satire website, so it's not actually true that happened. I just thought it was funny, the timing on that, because it was like immediately after the stream, I saw that article for the first time. And then somebody sent it to me as a news item. So
can you imagine Ben Shapiro's response trying to go, oh my god, look at what this children's animation is doing. Our animation studio is doing something way better than that. It will not indoctrinate your kids with this LGBTQ insanity.
Yeah, and Spisa says, LOL, it's just a chair facing the bed. Yeah, but that's the cuck chair. I feel like my evidence was stronger than that. I'm not going into it again. Anyway, yes, if you search for worst apologist on my thing, then the first thing that pops up is Gene Kim, who is Dr. Gene Kim, where he'll tell you that... like he's got a big text scroll where he's like, "Oh, I'm Dr. Gene Kim. I studied at the University of California, Berkeley, and Pensacola Bible Academy." But he doesn't.
You mean Pensacola Christian College?
Whatever. I don't know what the fuck school it was, but it was some unaccredited thing that you went to almost or something.
Oh wait, no, it wouldn't be PCC then. PCC is accredited.
No, it was an unaccredited one. Is the one that he.
Okay. It was a Hovindite diploma mill.
Yeah, but like he'll tell you that like he got a master's of education or something, and then he got his PhD in something or other, but he doesn't say which school he got which degree from. So it's like, yeah, so you got the lesser degree at Berkeley, and then you got your PhD from the unaccredited place that can't actually give out PhDs.
I am suddenly reminded, though not for the same reasons, of Georgia. Like, oh, I went ahead and got all this research done so that I could show that I have the piece of paper so people will respect my opinions. But
Yeah.
I publicly state that I got it solely so I could lie about it.
Yeah. So Less Than Lucid says, wait, really? A chair? Lots of people have chairs in their bedrooms. That's why it was a perfect satire article, because I'm not the only person to have noticed stuff like this in Bluey and drawn conclusions that are definitely not actually the intentions of the showrunners. And so they were kind of making fun of that. It was like, oh, there's a chair facing the bed. That's a cuck chair. And then they made a joke about the animator being fired for putting the cuck chair in, because there are other stuff like that that, like, on their own, yeah, it's kind of sketchy, but like when you look at the show as a whole, there are other things there's like, oh no, it actually makes more sense that it's just a mom and a dad with their kids. Although
that's not a reading chair,
like,
that's the cucking
chair.
What
I was trying to read into it is that, like, oh, the showrunners are being like extra progressive and trying to like subtly put in a message that like polyamorous relationships are okay. And that's like kind of the angle I was going for, and that's not one that I've seen other people do.
It's not woke enough,
but
though, because it's only okay if you watch.
But I still recognize that, like, no, the people making the show were not actually trying to do that. And I was just having some fun with it, so it's fine. Actually, my Bluey video is coming out I think next week it's coming out.
You heard it first here, folks. Vice Rhino is having fun with the cuck chair.
Sure. Why not?
Technically, it is not an incorrect statement.
I'm a big ass cuck. Bandit's voice actor is a drummer in a Queensland rock band, so maybe he has experience with hotel cuck chairs. Anyway, what the fuck were we even talking about before we went on a Bluey? We gotta stop talking about Bluey on this show because it always distracts me.
We were talking about the pride flags being banned in Tennessee schools.
Okay, so the whole thing, like, Nazi flag versus pride flag, and like they're not explicitly saying only the pride flags are banned, not the Nazi ones. They're just banning all the flags that aren't government flags. And I could see the objection to that from your commenter in here being something along the lines of, okay, well, they're banning all the flags, so why are we complaining about banning the LGBTQ flags? Wouldn't it be best if teachers just stick to the official government flags or whatever? But the thing is, when you fly a pride flag, what you're saying to your students is, if you are one of these identities, my classroom is a safe place for you. I got your back. You are a valid person.
But what if I identify as a Nazi, huh?
If you identify as a Nazi, then the classroom should not be a safe place. So, like, yeah, if a teacher flies a Nazi flag, maybe, like, if we don't pass this bill, maybe that's technically legal, but that's still signaling to the students that this is the kind of person that I am, this is the kind of classroom that I run, and if you have a Nazi flag, that's saying that, like, that's saying certain things about you that will have other constitutional implications that go beyond just the right to fly a flag.
Don't worry. They all have to be feds. I have evidence. My evidence is I said it really loudly.
Yeah. Probably. Also, Fennec is pointing out in my chat that, like, being a Nazi is a choice, whereas being LGBTQ is not.
I will say the only thing I don't like about that particular line of reasoning, though, is that I've heard the counter to that being, okay, but what if it was a choice? And
yeah, and, well, I mean, there's also... So, scientifically speaking, the evidence is fairly conclusive that being LGBTQ does have a very strong biological basis. However, it's not 100% one way or the other, because biology is fucking messy.
No, biology is simple. Man or woman, probably.
So gender and sexuality can both be fluid, and they can both change over the course of a person's life. However, overtly trying to change them, like conversion therapy, it always has negative health outcomes. It's been called torture by organizations whose sole purpose is to point out when torture happens. So, like, yeah, no, conversion therapy, no. Just let people be who they are. And, like, even if it does change over the course of someone's lifetime, I wouldn't necessarily call that a choice.
That's one reason why I tend to have issue with the there's I've made the statement, when somebody is born a dude and then realizes actually they're a woman, and then they go down the route of trying to seek therapy or getting not conversion therapy, but gender affirming therapy, whether that be HRT or anything else. And I've had people take issue with the born a guy part or born a girl part. But I've met enough people who are either gender fluid or have actually had that opinion of themselves change at some point in time to go, no, they weren't always that, because we don't have any evidence to suggest that. We have their own identity and how they feel about themselves at each varying point. And what matters is not how somebody was born, but how they identify now. That's completely consistent.
So Adam Broughton sent $5, said, Ryan, did you hear anything about the Alberta town that recently, for all intents and purposes, banned rainbow crosswalks? No, I didn't hear about that. That's the kind of thing that you could send to news@vicerando.com. And if you do that, insert joke about Suris letting you do something to him here. That I'm too lazy to actually come up with the joke.
You're too lazy to come up with a joke?
Yeah.
That is unfortunate.
I mean, feel free to insert your own joke here, if you like. I've left a
Please.
Wide open gap for you to insert your massive throbbing joke.
Please do no inserting on my account. I would prefer that. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, no, so, I forget what we were even talking about.
I don't either.
Anyway, yeah, that was basically the main point that I wanted to get to here, is that, like, banning any flags is, like, especially in public schools, I could see an argument to be made that, like, okay, we don't, like, you can't hang a Confederate flag in a public school because the Confederacy was literally an organization of traitors who tried to overthrow the government. So I could see why a government-run school might not want to have that flag flying there. I could see them not wanting a Nazi flag flying there. Because
it signals to everybody that signals to everyone that you are going to try to do something horrible to people of a particular group or religion.
Yeah, and so from that perspective, I can kind of see where the argument comes from, in that, like, well, if you fly a pride flag, that's going to, like, offend the sensibilities of the people who are anti-LGBTQ or whatever. But, like,
well, we shouldn't care about offending the sensibilities of people who are anti-people just being born and being happy.
Yeah, but the thing...
If anything, education should offend those people.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, but what I was kind of getting at is that, like, the Nazis are a group of people who are actively trying to, like, exterminate people based on their protective characteristics. So to fly a Nazi flag is to say you're okay with that. Whereas to fly a pride flag, it's just sending the signal that, like, I'm not going to hate you for being who you are. So, like, I can almost see the argument, but, like, and this is where, like, it's not really a First Amendment issue, because, like, being public employees, when they're on the job, they don't necessarily have the same First Amendment rights as they do when they're not on the job. So, like, I could see the argument working from that perspective, but given that the First Amendment is always how Republicans defend teachers doing things like praying in class, or...
It's my First Amendment right. I don't care if it offends a non-Christian. This is a Christian nation.
So, like, yeah, like... And this is the thing, like, if we're going to apply the First Amendment equally, then, yeah, no, it doesn't matter what the flag is. They should be allowed to fly, even if it is a Nazi flag, unfortunately. But if, like, it just shows their hypocrisy, because they'll say, like, oh, it's a First Amendment right to pray. They're trying to stop me from being able to pray. That's my First Amendment right. Meanwhile, what they were doing is forcing kids to pray, which is not their First Amendment right. 2, please. Sorry, just putting in my beer order.
2 First Amendment rights, please.
No, 2 beers. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to discuss about that one. Thank you.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie-chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.